Hello, everyone. No, I just don't want to be the head bobbing in behind the desk. I have a full body and I have open stage. I want to make use of that. So, hello, everyone. Yeah, I'm Soumya Deb. I work at Red Hat. I write code. I play video games. I travel. I talk. And I like to discuss about technical and non-technical theoretical kind of topics, ideas, and all these things. So today my topic is 0 to millions in one patch. What I mean by that is how you can establish yourself as a software developer in open source communities through your contribution. So I thought I can explain the concept, the first part of it, the 0 to million part of it, through a story. Some of you might know, for some of you it might be a new story. In the Greek epic Iliad, there's this character called Achilles or Achilles. So there's this great war coming up and he's not decided. He's a hero. He likes fighting, he likes wars, but the forces who are fighting in between, he doesn't have any particular affinity towards any of them. He doesn't care who wins. So he's not decided whether he should go for the war or not. So he goes to his mom, Thetis, and asks, what should I do? So she says, son, if you don't go for the war, if you stay, you'll live a long life. Long, happy life, you'll have families, you'll have your kids, they will prosper. And you'll live a long life, that will be a long life. If you do go for the war though, you are gonna die. But people are gonna remember you for your greatness, your bravery. He decides to go for the war. And the reason we are naming him today is because he went for the war. He opted for the situation where he is remembered through his work rather than just living a longer life. Many of us don't actually think about our lives under this light or so that it relates us in the same manner. We don't. We usually choose for lesser obstacle pathways where the thresholds are low and you don't have to be bugged about all sorts of difficulties that comes on your way. But if you do opt to choose a life where you do leave some marks on the world is going to remember you for that. And thankfully we're humans, so we actually do have some great edge over any other kind of animals we might have been. So here's this thing. I'm using Firefox, in case you haven't noticed, and I can press F12. How many of you actually know about this thing, the developer tools of Firefox, where you can identify problems and fix them of HTML or the web programming that you do? So why did I open this in my presentation that looks clunky and weird? The reason being, there are lots of tools in here, inspector, console, debugger. There's another thing that's called storage. Yeah. So if you enable that, you can also or debug all the index storage, database, all these things. This thing was developed by a guy in Bangalore. He works for a company. He used to be a student. And he's not a Mozilla employee. He's just a contributor. But he has submitted hundreds of patches. So now that we are having a good experience, we are having some new tools to work with. That's his contribution. He's helping us, all of us, whoever is programming, whoever is trying to write some good code and trying to analyze them. In some way, he's the one behind the scene. If any of you have used the private browsing mode of Firefox, so basically you press Ctrl Shift P, right? And that opens up a private window. So you can keep your works, whatever you're doing, and you can use the private window and then close it and be done with it. There's this another guy from Delhi IIT. He just got, he completed this year. He finished that feature. He worked on that. We all use those features, but we never knew about those people, right? But in some ways, they are the ones, 400 million people. How do I come to the number? I'll come to that. But the point is, hundreds of millions of people are using what they have built, what they have written. They're students, like any of you. I can share more stories about them, and probably I will. And if I don't, ask me about it any times afterwards. I'll be happy to answer that. So let's take a look at what's there. Okay, so as it happens, we created a leaderboard of the people who contributes to Firefox, Mozilla Firefox, and all these products that we have. Just as an example, there are lots of other software, open source software projects. They have various different contributors. Some of the contributors even contribute to various different other projects as well, not only one. But here's the first guy we talked about who contributes to the DevTools project. He's a very shy guy. I have a t-shirt of him, like I'm supposed to give it to him, and it's in my place. I also live in Bangalore. He wouldn't meet me and take it. He just likes to write codes, and he does that. He doesn't care about t-shirts or anything else. The other guy I talked about, this guy. He applied for Google Summer of Code. He wasn't, his proposal didn't get approved the first time. So he was thinking like, am I that bad? Let me make something, let me do something. So he straight ahead went for open source project. He found Firefox OS to be good enough. He started contributing, and he made that private browsing mode. And he was sure, yeah, I can do good. I don't need somebody's certification to do that. He did that. So in those ways, they are reaching to millions of people. And when I say millions, I actually do mean millions. How? Let me take you to a website that counts, approximate counts of how many people are using internet. The count would be somewhat around 3.4 billion people who use internet. Even if we consider that 10% of them have used Firefox, then all those people have reached out to about 340 million people, right? So that big of an impact, you cannot have by any other means. You can go take an internship in any organization. You can write some own personal code. How many people are going to use that right off the bat? Not too many. But if you find a project where already the user base is high, the code quality is good, take an example of Linux kernel. Take an example of a chat application called Pigeon. Take an example of browser like Firefox. There are lots of projects like that where if you contribute and your patch gets accepted, it's used by millions of people. You can actually be proud of that because your code is, yes, that good. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been accepted, right? It goes through a detailed review process. So this is the number I was talking of. Anyways, let's move to the next section, 0 to millions in one patch. So the patch part of the story. How many of you know what a patch is? What is a patch? No idea? No idea what a patch is? Well, patch is a bit of a code. Essentially, it's a diff of a code. What is a diff? It's existing code and some new code, and you tell them, this is how, replace this old code and add this new code to make this problem go away. That's a patch, right? Understood? So when you are solving a bug or adding a feature to a particular software, you send patches as a request to those maintainers of those software projects, so that they can apply that patch on their software, and that problem goes away. With attribution of your name, because you are the one who developed that, right? So yesterday when we talked about Git, that's one of the version control system. Sorry. So when we talked about Git yesterday, that was a version control system. Each and every of those projects we are talking about right now, they use some form of those version control systems. Some use Git, some use Mercurial, or SVN, CVS, various other kinds of. Doesn't really matter much. Once you are into it, you will know what to do about it. Point is, when you submit your code, your identity, who wrote this particular line of code, is forever in the history of those source control management system. It will be there. And you're forever in the history of that particular software. That's a huge thing, because not too many people are into that. If you can actually make somebody's day better, because you have written some particular feature in a project, then actually you helped that person. You can't readily do that by any other means. So how do you go through those phases to contribute to a project, software project? First part is discovery. Of course, you need to know where you can help. So the ideal scenario is it's a product or project that you already use or have some idea about. For me, I heard that some names were mentioned, and it's actually true. I do have some contributions in some, like, of course, some of them, so those contributions might be very minuscule. Point is, those are the software I use, or some of them are not really a software service, maybe. I use, say, for example, Wikipedia. I am editor there as well. So point is, something that I use, I know that this thing has some particular difficulty in there or bug in there, that feature can be better. I can go ahead and fix it. And in open source culture, that is very much appreciated. You don't actually have to wait for somebody else's permission to go ahead and fix something. You can be proactive about that. If you feel that this is a problem and I can fix it, go ahead and fix it, submit the patch. The author, who probably might not have he might not have known that that problem existed, he would thank you for that and accept that patch. So discovery phase, you need to know what you're going to help out with. And it's best if you are a user of that particular software project or something. Second, comprehension, so that you have an understanding of the architecture or the feature or whatever you're trying to work on. You need to know what is expected and how to deal with that particular architecture or the product or the software. I'll come back to this part because this is actually related to the third phase, which is guidance, taking guidance. In open source projects, I'll give more directions about this part. You probably will not be able to comprehend the entirety of the project. So you will need some help from somebody else. Usually you need to go to IRC channels or send mails to mailing lists, or ask somebody else who has better idea about that particular project to understand more, right? And at this part, your comprehension also gets better, as well as you make more connection with the people who are already into this field. Now that you understand your problem better, you can think about how to resolve it. How do I fix this problem? You probably already have a generic idea. This is how it should get fixed. But platform-specific or product-specific, some of the domain knowledge that you lack, those are the problems that will be there. You need to seek guidance for that. And once you have that, you should be able to fix that problem, right? So what is the resolution? When you have that resolution, you send in your patch with the author information. Author information comes as most of the time as sign-off. So you have your name and your email ID that goes with your patch, and that gets added to the tree. So anybody who does the, so in Git or Mercurial, it's called the blame system. So you write git blame, and it'll tell you which line was authored by which person. So first of all, you can find out who wrote the code that you're editing. Secondly, if your code gets merged there, somebody else can come afterwards and find out who wrote that code, and that's you, right? And it's an integrated attribution, so you don't have to ask or attach something else there. You, as an author, already are added to the tree. You have made something beautiful. Now the recognition part is something that differs project to project, how a project wants to recognize you. For some project, having your name on the version control history, good enough. Some people might want to give you a t-shirt or sticker as well. Whatever works for you. Some other project might give you some stronger, like, or more difficult bugs. And either one can be your kind of poison, so it's fine. Whatever works for you. Now I'll give you a case study, which is, think about this. Like, as mentioned, I am a Mozilla volunteer. I spend quite some time helping Mozilla project out. So I'm going to give you some idea about how you can start coding for Mozilla, like writing codes for some Mozilla project. So as it happens, Mozilla did find out a way to explain that in one page document. That's why all you need. I'm not going to read it line by line, because that's for you to do if you're interested enough. And most of the other projects will be something similar. Some of the projects might not have very defined strategies, or like point person to go this way, that way, if you want to do this, if you know this language, do this, and all these things. But it will be quite similar. So it says, as the first term, need help, as in you have landed here, but what if I am not able to explain you everything? You can reach out to these people, and it explains that, where you can go and what you can do. Basically, you can go to IRC and ask the people about the problems you're facing. You can go to the particular discussion channel on the mailing list, ask the question, have answer, and all the other kind of stuff. They do have some different kind of channels for like Telegram or Slack and all these things. Now, what if your question is like, I know Python, what do I do? Or I know only JavaScript, what do I do? Is there something I can help out with? Yes, some projects actually do cross functionality developments as well. So, and programming languages also differ in that sense. So there might be one project with various dependency on various different languages. And here it's mentioned how a C++ guy can help out with. So he can help out with Firefox, Firefox OS, and other Mozilla products that uses C++. If you know JavaScript, yeah, there you go. And all these kind of things. I have a more fun a web page to show, like it's playful. Will show you that. For now, just go through this page and try and understand what I told you in the previous slide. Now, this is the part where you get to understand the project architecture. You first build Firefox. So they take you through how you get to understand, you prepare yourself. Now fix the bug, get your code reviewed. This is the most important part. Once you write your code, for us, when we are student, everything works. As long as the functionality, like, it's doing what it's supposed to do, it's fine. But when you're in a professional environment, you're writing a code, even a space matters. Even a space after your code line, that matters. You are not supposed to leave it blank, one extra space. Or if it's 4-space indentation, you shouldn't use 2-spaced or 8-spaced one. Those things matter. And all these small nits you will be asked to fix. If your logic is not optimal enough, you'll be asked to revise your code. And they will be very helpful about that. Most of the time, most of the open source communities, the people who will be reviewing your code, they're very helpful enough. They will tell you, they can fix it themselves, but they will actually ask you to fix it for you to get better, right? So if you ever come to a point where your patch is not accepted in the first go, it usually doesn't. So don't be disheartened. Try another time. Listen to what the other person reviewer is telling you. Fix that problem. Resubmit. Once there's no other needs to fix, that patch will get merged into the tree, right? At that point of time, your code is in the tree. You have made the, sorry about the, am I audible enough? At that point of time, your code is into the software, and people can start using it, and you can tell your friends, you know what? My code is in Firefox, the browser. You should download it and try it out, and something like that. I did it once, the first time my code got accepted. So, yeah, and then repeat if you like it, and usually people do. Very less often people try it for the first time, and after successful completion of the whole process, they just don't do it twice, the second time. That doesn't happen often. It's found that once somebody is successful with the first submission, they almost always do the second one. And most of the people actually do continue. The continuation is more likely. So people do find it more interesting as more they contribute into open source. Best part is you actually do get to make friends. Lots of people who talk the similar language, have similar approach of problem solving, considers technical challenges the same way as you do. So it's very fun. So time to start patching. As I said, the previous page that I've shown you, the official Mozilla guide to developers introduction, that might seem boring for some of you who are starting out. So I can give you some fun examples. The domain name is what can I do for Mozilla.org. So it's basically what can I do for Mozilla. It doesn't get simpler than that, right? Also, it's a huge URL. Damn it. So what can you do for Mozilla? This actually is complete. So it's not only coding contribution. It gives you different kinds of contribution functional areas. So you can do translation, you can do software testing, teaching, user support, advocacy, writing code. That's what we need. Okay, tell me more. So you go inside, then it gives you options of which are the different languages you can start coding in. So you can try C. Okay, let's do one thing. You raise your hand when I keep on changing the language, so that I know which one has most of the response. I'll go into that, okay? So whenever you like a language, you raise your hand. You want to know more about that language, you raise your hand. Understood? Okay, so C. All right, probably it was the most interesting one, but C++, around the same. Swift. Okay, no, I'm not blaming, of course. It's expected. Python, less than C. Now Rust, Go, Java, oh, holy moly. Okay, Perl, JavaScript, all right, PHP. Okay, apparently C++ was the most interesting bit anyways, like almost, huh? Java, no, you didn't see C, almost like, okay, anyways, okay, fine, Java. Doesn't matter, like it's all the same. Cool, so what can you write, what can you contribute in Java? So the mobile Firefox for Android, that's a Java project, right? So if you know Java and want to help out, you can write codes in that. So you're not interested about mobile Firefox development. What else? Most Tumblr. It's a geolocation project. So that's an app that you install in your Android phone, and you can track locations in everywhere so that Mozilla's Firefox OS can do that better. So it's an application development. So these are the projects which are there. So you can identify, I know this language, and I want to work on these projects, which one I do? This is a very playful way of discovering that. And let's say now you have decided which thing you want to do. How do you find out a bug, existing bug? So there's this tool called Bugs Ahoy, made by Josh Matthews, the same guy who made the previous tool. He works in Mozilla, he works in Rust and makes Servo browser, the new upcoming browser from Mozilla. So he made this tool as well. And it's called Bugs Ahoy. What it does, it filters bugs from Bugzilla. Have any one of you, do you have any understanding of what Bugzilla is? Not the front row. Guys from behind. Any idea about what Bugzilla is? Oh, it's a bug tracking tool. It's a bug tracking tool. Very complicated, very feature rich, and UI is not that great. So he thought, what if I don't need to take those newcomers through this excruciating pain of filtering through those bugs, give them a very friendly UI. So I don't think you can see it, but so I will just increase the font size. So it says, are you interested in web platform or Firefox or others or support or web development? And basically you have the filters. You want to work on networking or JavaScript engine. And you said that, okay, fine, and my language would be, sorry. Anyways, so once you do that, it finds out from Bugzilla the results of those bugs. So here we have the bugs which are related to networking or JavaScript engine. So now you have a list of those bugs which are identified to be easy bugs though. Here's the thing, these are not very tough bugs. They're identified to be easy bugs and have mentors assigned to them. So if anybody wants to take up those bugs and want to work on that, there will be somebody assigned to help them out. So you are not in the complete waters. The other person who is the mentor, who can very well fix those bugs, but they would prefer that somebody else, somebody new who wants to learn more, help out the open source community, start with a friendly, new, solvable, easy bug. So that's why it's there. And if you want to know more about that, it will tell you, just because I'm zoomed out, you might not be able to see it as well. So it will tell you that 2 days since the last activity, so for last 2 days, nobody has picked up this bug or have worked on it and all this kind of stuff. So you can go visit the bug, you'll be able to see that more detail about that thing, what it's asking for, whoever has previously submitted any patch or any thoughts or anything as that. So you have to read that part, then you have to know who you have to contact, assigned to somebody, so somebody already has picked up this bug, some new student, and this whiteboard should ideally have the mentor information as well. Mentor is Josh Matthews, JDM, so the same guy. Yeah. Anyways, so it's already there. So you know, if I want to work on this bug, and I'm not very sure, I understand half these things, but other half I need help with, you know who to ask. So this is the way it can work. You can go ahead and try this thing out if you're interested. If you have a weekend where you don't have a really good idea, how can I make this weekend productive? Go ahead, try this thing out. What can go worse? And if you actually get to manage to write something that goes into Firefox's code base, all the better, right? So this is usually how things go. I know that this is not a comprehensive guide to how you should start coding, but this is a good enough direction, isn't it? So if you want to start coding and you're still confused, hold your thoughts, start thinking about the questions you should ask, because now I'll be taking the questions. By the way, in case you are not decided yet or you cannot form your questions and you have something long to share, I am developer on the internet, so you can find me out if you look for it, and see you from the other side of the interwebs. And if you have any questions right now, I'm happy to answer. Anybody?
So, probably your talk was morely on the from the development front, but I did touch upon on these points. Like, if you want to contribute towards open source, you don't have to be restricted, or you don't have to be a developer itself. You can contribute to the open source in many ways, be it like QE testing, or you can write the content, which we call as content writer. The advocacy is also one of them. So I'm pretty sure that folks sitting out there, I mean, once you go out of the college, all of them can't be developers. You will choose your path based on your experience or whatever your comfort level is. So don't restrict yourself towards contributing to open source, thinking that you can't you can't develop, you can't write code, but there are different ways. And another point, right, regarding the recognition, right? So this is from my personal experience. What we do is, if a particular user has tested our product and found a critical bug, so being developers, what we do, we send patches. So there would be names from our side, like signed off by this particular guy, but we would also give credit to that person in the patch itself. So in that patch tree, or in the JIT tree, his name is also mentioned. So that gives an equal importance of a QE tester as well, who has actually identified the bug and helped us in fixing it. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Atin. As I mentioned, there are other ways to contribute to open source projects as well. You don't actually only need to be developers. There are other ways. Excuse me on this. So there are about credits page on Mozilla Firefox as well. What Atin just mentioned, your name can be up there in various other ways. You make yourselves known, you make new friends, you visit other places, you share your thoughts with them, and yeah, you be remembered. So that was the core theory of my talk, how to make yourself remembered by contributing to open source projects. Maybe a bit biased towards coding, but thank you, everyone.